my last job gave me an injury that ended up blowing everything up for me. Hey Chais, it's Kai, and it's finally time to talk about it.
Why are you such a copycat?
This is the first time I have sat down and actually done like a proper story time in a while, and even the time before this that I did it was, I don't know, it was something that I felt like I was mostly past and I was ready to talk about, and this honestly, I'm not sure if I'm totally ready to talk about it, but I feel like I need to because it's been so prevalent in my life lately, and I don't know who else to talk to about it because, I mean, everybody already knows the situation, and I don't want to keep saying the same things over and over again, and I mean, I'm still going to be saying a lot of the same things here, but I want to kind of just go through the events, tell you guys what happened, because it's also affected you guys largely. I haven't been able to edit videos, partly because of mental health and partly because of this.
Hey Chais, Editing Kai here. Wow, it feels good to say that finally. Minnie has a t-shirt now, as you can see. Hello. I'm sure you may have noticed it's been like a few months since I've posted, and I don't do that like literally ever. Like, a part of me was like, am I ever going to come back to YouTube? But I miss it so much. And so, of course, here's the thing. This video does not mean that I'm officially back yet. I'm trying my best. We're going to see what happens. But today, I actually got a new iMac. That's something I wanted to do for literally years. I cringed paying for it, but it had to happen. My regular laptop was dying. My editing Mac was just like, it's a 2008, and it technically did the job, but like, honestly, it took way longer to edit than it needed to. And I wanted to edit videos for like a friend of mine for a while there, and I don't know how I expected to do that. I could only keep one video of mine at a time on there. So anyway, long story short, I have an iMac now. I have the means to finally edit like an actual regular person, which is so exciting. I wanted to give you a quick heads up. This is going to be like a weirdly emotional video. I didn't expect it to happen when I was sitting down to film it, but by the end of it, I was just crying. So just be warned, if you don't like crying, maybe go click on another one of my videos, or, you know, wait and suggest something. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, enjoy the video. Or, well, it's a crying video, but okay.
So my last job gave me an injury that ended up blowing everything up for me. And I don't know, I guess it's time to just talk about it. If you hear weird cat noises in the background, my cat's in heat. She is supposed to be spayed in just a few days, but right now she has decided to be extra obnoxious. It's also real hot in here right now because I just turned my fan off, and I also just set everything up, so, you know. But after I went through all the effort of putting on my makeup and stuff, I just wanted to talk about it and get it out. I don't know, I didn't want to sit and think about it anymore before finally just talking about it. And I don't know how soon this video is going to go up after I talk about it, because I have a couple of things on my computer I need to edit. We'll see. I feel like if I don't just hop right into it, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. So let's just start talking about the beginning of this job. So when I originally applied for the job, it was a receptionist position. It didn't make it clear in the posting that it was supposed to be at a call center, but it was. Sorry, I haven't really talked all day, so my throat's already like, what's going on? Quarantine, am I right? Anyway, okay, so yeah, so I read this job posting. It was for a receptionist, and I wanted to get out of food service at the time. I was, you know, the Starbucks job that I had previously talked about on my channel, I was in that. I was looking for a new job. Then I had a scam job for like 2 days, and then I was like hurriedly trying to figure something out that was like an office job because I wanted to do something different for once in my life because I was a barista for 5 years. Receptionist always seemed like a fun job for me. I don't know, I wanted to try it, so I applied for the job. I got an interview like the next day or a day after that, something like that. It was really fast. I did the interview, it went really well, and I was actually offered the job like a couple days later, something like that. Again, I don't remember the exact timeline. It doesn't really matter. Basically, and I'm not going to say the name of this company just because I don't know if there's a legal repercussion for that, and just in case, I'm not going to do that. Otherwise, honestly, I genuinely would, because I am not. They have upturned my life, like I said, and I have a lot of feelings about it. So basically the company was like an after hours call center of sorts for businesses, like different kinds, like doctors, dentists, you know, plumbing, electricians, apartment complexes. Like there were any kind of business you can think of, automotive repair, things like that, anything, they covered it. So anytime the offices that had contracted us out basically were out to lunch or were not in the office, the whole job was pretending like we knew what the business was even about, pretending we knew the people in the office. We weren't allowed to tell people we were at a call center unless some of the businesses had like opted to put like, this is the answering service for blah 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 blah. But most of the time we were not allowed to say that. Even if they asked us outright, we were supposed to be like, well, no, I'm with the back office or whatever. I don't know, it was stupid. I did not enjoy it, but I was good at it and it paid the bills and I liked a lot of the people that I worked with, and I don't know, I didn't feel like I had a reason to complain. It wasn't Starbucks. Whatever. We even had these like weekly, well, they were supposed to be weekly, they weren't always weekly because there were so many of us and we were like all across the nation, but we had like weekly check-ins to see like how our calls were going because they were all, you know, recorded. And so the person who was in charge of that, who I'm actually still friends with and I love her very dearly, and if you're watching this, which I know you and your daughter might be, hey, what's up, you guys are the best and I love you. Mwah. And please don't hate me for sitting on the place that I used to work with you at. Grammar? But yeah, they would like listen to the calls and be like, hey, like you should have said this instead of this, like don't use this word because that makes it sound like this. And I don't know, I liked that. I genuinely enjoyed those sessions, if partly because it meant that I didn't have to be on the phones, because also I have a lot of complaints about this place. I'm not gonna sit here and list them all to you, but one of my biggest things was you couldn't choose when you had a call coming in. Literally, if a call came in, it just automatically answered for you unless you were currently on the line, in which case it would go in your queue or bounce around to the next person with like an open queue, and then as soon as they ended that call, it would hop in. There was a button for in case you were not ready, and they claimed in the rules that it was like encouraged to like click not ready if you were not ready to take the next call. However, that didn't look good for stats and all they cared about was numbers, but it was just so stupid. Like they would yell at you if you clicked not ready enough times, and like anytime you went to your QA meetings they would be like, hey, like you cannot do that for so long. Like I would get points taken off just because I wanted to make sure that my messages to the company were actually, oh yeah, we took messages for the company. I didn't actually say that. We answered the phones for them, but then like we would type down all the information, so we'd put like their name, their phone number, their email if they wanted to leave it, the reason why they were calling, and some forms would be really easy and some forms would be hella complicated. I was really excited at first, and my first couple of weeks I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool, you know, there are some parts that I don't like. I don't like having to lie to people, and people, oh my god, I thought that like working as a barista customer service was hard. I thought that Karens wanting their coffee in the morning was bad. When people are on the phone and you can't see them, it's like an anonymous internet bully. Like they feel like they can say literally anything to you and you have no power to stop them, and technically we could hang up and technically we were supposed to pass irate callers on to our managers and things like that, but most of the time we were encouraged to like try and just diffuse the situation on our own. And oh my god, I have never been talked to like that frequently. I'm already like, my mental health was getting worse, and that was the thing I disclosed fairly early on to the main boss. I guess I should give them names because they're going to be important later. We'll say Carol was the main boss that I had spent most of the time talking to. She was the one who interviewed me. She's the one I disclosed to, and then her boss above her we'll call Holly. I don't know. I hadn't really talked to Holly that often, but she did also, like, I think she had a separate meeting with me. She called me later on to talk about my stats and stuff. Anyway, I didn't talk to her as much because she had way more things to handle. She was more big picture, more like day to day was Carol. Anyway, so yeah, semi early on I had disclosed my mental health to Carol. I used to go to therapy through my college back in the day when I was still in college full time. I saw her for about 2 years, I want to say. The closest thing that we could come up with was that I had borderline, and I was going to see a psychiatrist, but it was so expensive and I wasn't able to get an appointment before I moved over to California, and by the time I got out here money was even tighter at the time, and it was a whole thing. I just have not actually been able to get in and get a diagnosis. It's still a goal of mine, but it's expensive, it's really difficult, so this is where we are. And that's basically what I told her, and I told her that, you know, sometimes I will have days where I can't get out of bed, sometimes I'll have days where panic attacks just come out of nowhere, and it hadn't been that frequent. Yeah, Starbucks kind of, you know, made it increase when I was there, but like in general in my life, I had mostly gotten a handle on it. I was mostly able to, like, when I had a schedule, when I had something I knew I had to do and I didn't have like an excuse to get out of it, like I would still be able to go and function most of the time. She was very understanding at the time. She was like, just let me know, you know, you have sick days for a reason, and if it comes down to it, yeah, just let us know as early as you can if you have days like that, and we will try our best to work around it. But after a few months of this job, I mean, it was this sunless office. I would spend hours and hours, and sometimes I worked the night shift. It would get really slow at nighttime. So sometimes it would be crazy busy, which would make me anxious. And then sometimes I would literally spend like 30 minutes sitting and waiting, and you can't talk while it's going on because, again, the calls would come in at any moment. Like it would just beep and then someone would be on the line. So if you're in the middle of a conversation, they can hear you, which is another reason, like, you should be able to, like, yeah, expected to answer it quickly, but you shouldn't be okay. I don't work there anymore. It doesn't matter, but it still sucks because I still have friends who still work there, and anyway. So my mental health was getting worse. I was getting more and more anxious on the days that it would be busier, which were usually, I think, the weekends, because, you know, all the offices would be closed basically, so we would be taking calls pretty much nonstop. Even at nighttime, once it slowed down, it was still like fairly busy, which on the one hand was good and on the one hand wasn't, because when it was busy, it was like back to back to back to back to back. And then when it was slow, it was just like dead, like one call. Like, I remember I would like sketch or just doodle, or I would like write out the lyrics or type out the lyrics even to songs just to keep myself occupied. One time I drew a maze from scratch just from my brain, like 2 different ones in the same night, because I was that bored. More and more frequently I would have these days where I couldn't get out of bed, or I would even get to the point, like there were a couple days where I would get ready and I would go out of the house and get in my car, and I'd start to be like on the verge of a panic attack, and I would get there and I would just like not be able to breathe, and I would have to like walk in and be like, hey, I'm so sorry, I know I start my shift in like 15 minutes, I have to go back home. They were outwardly understanding about it. I could tell they were frustrated, and honestly, I don't blame them for being frustrated. It was a little passive aggressive sometimes, but I mean, you know, we're not even to the risks yet. This is gonna be a long video, I'm sorry. I only worked there for 6 months. They just had a general lack of understanding about it, and it wasn't their fault, and I was just upset because mental health reasons. But I did want to mention that, partly because it's just something that I'm still frustrated about, and partly because I think that explains a little bit my side, because toward the end, by the time this happened, I was like calling off a lot because of my mental health, and I think that they probably were not like wanting to work with me because of that. I tried to work through it one time, and I still, like, I was supposed to work until midnight, and I think I lasted till 10. I usually worked like 3 to 12. Honestly, I'm still impressed that I lasted until 10, but I was short of breath the whole time, and I was panicking, and I was literally on the verge of tears every single time I had to say, hi, thank you for calling so-and-so, how can I help you today? And that was traumatic enough that, like, after that, anytime I was like coming and panicking, I would flash back to how I felt during that, and it would make it worse. Anyway, I'm not gonna sit here and over explain my mental health to you. It just was what it was. I just wanted to put it out there, make sure that that was part of the story, and I wasn't glossing over it, acting like I was this perfect employee and everybody was always calling to compliment me. I still wasn't a perfect employee by the end. So fast forward to December, which was the last month that I ended up working for them. I had told myself, like, yeah, like I had been calling off for my mental health a lot, and some of those days, like by the time I was able to actually get up and do something, it was like halfway through my original shift, like what it was supposed to be, and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna start applying for a bunch of other jobs that I could do right now. I mean, even when I worked at Starbucks, I had the rage to fuel me, I guess. I really don't know. Anyway, like I said, I was trying my best to apply for everything as fast as I could, get the best situation for everybody involved so I could leave this situation and we could be on good terms and everything else. I didn't want it to turn into what it ended up turning into, which is something that it's mid-May right now and I still am angry and emotional and in physical pain. I'd set the resolve. I was gonna try meditating more and eating better and all the things that never actually help, but I told myself was gonna help, and then I went to work. I want to say it was December 27th. That's the day that's popping out in my head. I start taking calls, and a few calls in, something's weird. Now, really quick, I do want to say that before work that day, I had like just gone on a craze. I decided to remove the closet doors that day. That's when all that happened. I was like, oh my God, I'll make it my background. It's going to be so great. So I had used a screwdriver that day. I am only saying that because after, when I went to their office, I was like, hey, like I did that. Maybe that had something to do with it. And I also want to preface and say that because of Starbucks, I used to say, oh, I have carpal tunnel, because I thought I did. I didn't realize how serious of a condition carpal tunnel actually was. I had just grown up hearing in, you know, TV shows and from my parents that like, oh yeah, you get carpal tunnel if you use your wrist too much. And I was having wrist pain sometimes, you know, like I would wake up with my hands being numb and my wrists were hurting when I was working on bar. But let me stress, that pain was very different from what I was about to experience, and we'll get to that. Okay, so I was taking calls, and a few calls in, like I had just clocked in, probably 15 minutes in, something like that. I was taking a call and my fingers started to lock up. Even when I worked at Starbucks, I never had a moment where my fingers locked up and I felt like I could barely move them, but that's what was happening. I felt like I was having to stress to straighten them and stress to bend them. It was like my joints were rusty. And again, I'm still having to be cheerful and pretend like everything's totally fine and type the message as she's telling it to me on the phone. I pushed through for a few more calls and I'm like near tears, but just trying to pretend like I'm fine because I was really freaking out. It was so hard to move. I was having to like do that to like push down like one key. It was painful. I quickly click not ready when she gets off the phone, and I had messaged my manager across the way and I was like, help. What do you do if your fingers are locking up? I should say the way that we all communicated was through like a messenger system. That's what I did. So I messaged her and she was like, what? And I turned around and she was like, what's going on? Because apparently, because she had said that she had carpal tunnel and stuff in the past too, which by the way, I stand by, should not be common at a job. And not to throw her under the bus, because again, she was great, but I did flashback later on to one point when she was talking to the guy that I'd been hired with, and you know, he was having wrist pain and things like that, and then after he walked away, she said something about like, yeah, we all have wrist pain, like stop whining about it or something. I don't remember. I just, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because that was the attitude that people there had toward wrist pain, which, when it's the one thing that you need to do your job because there was nothing else to do there but type and take calls, it's significant when the attitude in the entire office is like, oh, carpal tunnel, okay, go cry about it. I tell her what's happening while I'm like doing this the whole time and trying to massage the muscles on my hands and move my wrists around and things like that, and I tell her what's going on and she's like, I don't know, message Carol, because if anybody knows here, it's gonna be her. And so I shoot her a message and she immediately is like, come to my office please. So I completely log off of my phone. I walk over to her office, like just trying my best to not like straight up panic, because it was very scary. Like I not being able to, I mean, I technically could use my hands, but when you don't have control over it and it's painful and you can't really, it freaked me out. It really freaked me out. So I went to her office and we were talking and she was like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. I was taking calls like normal. My fingers started locking up. This has never happened to me before and it hurts so much and I don't know what's happening. She gave me lotion and was like, maybe this will help. It has like oils. We were apparently waiting on Holly. I forgot what I called her for a minute. I'm not like on the verge of hyperventilating anymore because I'd been sitting in her office for like a full 30 minutes at that point. Holly comes in and is like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't have experience with this and I also can't give you medical advice. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, yeah, this is probably a medical issue in my head. Holy crap, like this is scary. Like I didn't have health insurance at the time. I think I maybe had it through the state. It was a big question mark, and even then, like, you know, co-pays and things like that were out of the question because I had already used up my savings because of my mental health shit. Sorry, I'm feeling anxious again just talking about this. So she's like, well, what do you need from me? And I was like, I don't know. What do I do? Like, I don't know. Like, have you guys had anything happen like this before? They said they didn't really know what to do. And then Holly asks me, do you want to open a workers' compensation case? And I hesitated and I wish I hadn't. And I told them about the screwdriver and I was like, maybe it's that. I don't know. I have no idea what else it could be because I was taking calls like normal. And yeah, you know, my wrists hurt sometimes when I'm here. I have to pop them, you know, whatever. From what I understand, it's it's normal to have wrist pain here, but this is extreme and I don't know what to do and I'm scared. She said something along the lines of like, let me know if you want to open up a workers' compensation case, because if you do, we need to report this right away and you need to see our doctor. And I don't know. In my brain, I assumed that means, oh, I have to pay for a doctor's visit, so I said no. And it was stupid of me because I didn't actually weigh my options again. I was too panicked, and what now, workers' compensation? All of a sudden I have to open this big legal case and go see a doctor? I'm scared of doctor's offices also. That's a phobia of mine. So all of this, so I told her no in the moment, and she asked if I thought that I could work the rest of my shift, and I started crying because I felt so guilty. I mean, the mental health stuff already, like, I feel guilty anytime I have to call off for mental health. It doesn't matter what job it is or what the situation is. Like, if it's interfering with my life and I have to like inconvenience someone else for it, it makes me feel even worse, and sometimes makes the episode even worse. And so I was already guilty for all the times I had called off because of my mental health, and I was trying. I had set a resolve, like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna, you know, just like not show up anymore because I feel like I can't. I was like, no, like, I'm gonna push through. And now all of a sudden, here's another time, and it wasn't like I couldn't work through it. I couldn't take 3 calls without panicking. I was crying, and I told her, I was like, I don't want to leave you guys shorthanded. You know, I heard from the manager earlier that you guys are already like short tonight. I knew people had already called off, and she was like, it is not your job to worry about whether or not we're short-staffed. It is your job to figure out whether you can do your job, which was a really good thing to say, and is the only time throughout this entire experience that Holly ever made me feel not guilty about all the shit that I went through because of this. That was the only time I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be at a place willing to put my health first, because this is serious. Like, I genuinely can't work without it. I'm genuinely panicking. This is, oh my God. I really didn't think I was going to be crying in this video, but I'm gonna take a break. Sorry, I did not expect that to, I didn't expect that to happen. Let's move forward. She sent me home crying and guilty, me, not her. This so happened to be one of the days that I was off the next day, and I was grateful for that because I thought that, yeah, like, this is just a temporary thing. The next day, it was still a problem, but I was pretending like it wasn't, and I literally wasn't using my hands like at all as much as I possibly could. Sunday, I was supposed to go back. I spent the whole day before that, like, I was testing it, like, am I okay today? Am I genuinely okay today? I still was not able to use my wrists and my fingers. Like, they were still locking up, they still hurt. It wasn't like excruciating pain, so I was like, I'm gonna get through it. Sundays are our busiest day, and I told myself I'm not gonna call off, so I'm gonna get through it. And then I got in my car, and gripping the steering wheel was hard. I tried to ignore it, and like 5 minutes in, I was like, I don't even know if I can drive the rest of the way safely, let alone take messages for 8 hours straight. Actually, technically, I was scheduled for 9 hours, but they gave us like 2 lunches, so anyway, there was no way. There was just no way. And so I pulled over into a parking lot. I called and I was like, hey, I thought my wrists were gonna be better by today, and they're just not. Like, I was gonna try and push through, but I can't even drive. Like, I'm so sorry. It's been days. Like, why aren't they getting better? If nothing changes after today, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Is this permanent? So Monday, I was usually scheduled at 11 a.m. instead, so I went ahead, I went in, and I was gonna do my best. I was working, I was taking messages. It was really difficult. I was trying to push through it, and just as time went on, it was getting to the point where, like, I was on the verge of tears again. Not only were my fingers locking up, not only were they hurting, but my wrists were just like aching. Like, I had to like pop them every few words that I was typing, not even like sentences, like words that I was typing. I was like, this is excruciating. I couldn't even focus on what the people were saying because I was too focused on my wrists. I held out just barely, like on the verge of tears, until my break at 12:30. I had a 15-minute break, 12:30 to 12:45, and at that point I had come to the realization, I can't. This has been going on for days, and the longer I'm here, the worse it's getting. And I remember her saying that I can file a workers' compensation claim, because at this point, what is my other option? I genuinely can't do my job anymore, and isn't that the basis? Like, it's an injury that is literally debilitating. It's like, I was unable to complete regular everyday tasks. I couldn't type, which was my entire job. I couldn't text my friends. I couldn't drive my car without discomfort and pain. I couldn't cook myself food. I couldn't do dishes. Like, I don't want to keep crying throughout this video, so I'm gonna do my best not to get too passionate again, because I want to be done with the story now that I started telling it. It's been so long already. I think I've been filming for at least an hour. So I walk into her office. Clearly I had been crying, and I'm like shaky because I was nervous and guilty and in pain and scared, not only of what was going to happen with my job, but what was going to happen with my body. Like, I didn't know if this was a permanent disability. Apparently it is, which is super cool. Shit. So I tell her that I think I need to file a workers' compensation claim because I have no other option. She says, okay, let me get the papers ready for you. Go sit at your desk. You need to fill them out for me, which entailed writing with the pen. Great. Not her fault, just really frustrating. The whole series of events after this, I had to fill out so many forms. I'm going to call corporate, let them know, we're going to figure things out. Do you feel like you need to see a doctor? And I'm near tears at this point. I already had like been crying, and talking to her again had gotten me worked up and like freaked out again. And so I was near tears, and I was like, yeah, like I need to see a doctor. Driving doesn't feel super safe right now. Like, I'm scared that if I don't go to a doctor, something worse is going to happen. It's going to get worse, and I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't want to. We fill out paperwork for corporate and also some for me to take to the doctor's office with me, and I head straight there. Now, it was a holiday at that point because it was New Year's Eve or the day after New Year's or something like that, but the main actual doctor's office was closed for that reason. So I had to go to the urgent care. They ended up giving me ace bandages and ibuprofen, which I'm immune to because I get migraines so frequently and have since I was in high school because of the whiplash I got in high school. There's a lot wrong with my body. It's fine. The ace bandage didn't help. Maybe a bit of placebo effect. It made me think that it was doing something for me. It wasn't really giving me any support, but it felt good to have something I felt like I was in control of, even if all it did was cut off the circulation a little bit. After that, they went ahead and set me up for a future appointment. My battery is blinking again. The urgent care told me that I probably had tendonitis. I needed to like have an appointment and like officially have them say like, yes, you have tendonitis. But that's what the urgent care doctor told me that was most likely the case. They gave me paperwork saying for no more than 30 minutes at a time and for no more than 4 hours a day was I allowed to do a repetitive motion of the hand and wrist, which included typing. So I let Holly know what the situation was, and she told me, well, I need you to bring me that paperwork as soon as possible. I was like, oh yeah, I can get it to you soon. She's like, can you get it to me before 6 o'clock today? Because that's when I leave, and it was like 5, so I didn't have an excuse to say no, even though I didn't want to get back in my car and drive again. I guess I should have said no because anyway, whatever. I drove there, I gave her the paperwork, and she was like, oh yeah, you can't work. Like, the urgent care doctor was like, yeah, like they'll have to, you know, let you shuffle some papers around or something if they're gonna have you on, or you have to just not work. She confirmed this and she said, yeah, you can't work. There's nothing else here. There's not an administrative position. So yeah, you're off work. So I go home thinking, okay, I'm off work for a while. I can at least calm my anxiety down. I'm going to get paid for this time. I don't know how I'm going to get paid for this time. Nobody's explained anything to me, but you know, whatever. It's going to happen. We'll figure it out. I'm not going to take you through every little occurrence. I met with the doctor a couple more times. He gave me something stronger than ibuprofen the first like official time after the urgent care. I don't remember what it's called. I still have a few of the pills because I've still needed some of them sometimes recently, even though this was back in January when I was seeing him, and it is now mid-May. I've started writing again, which is really exciting, except that I only wrote for 3 hours the other day, and afterward was like almost crying and had to take the pain pills again, and have been wearing these like all day lately, which is great. Basically, they kept going back and forth. Again, Holly's entire attitude toward me just like flipped. This first day, even whenever I brought her all the paperwork, I could tell she was a little like, oh, okay, well, suddenly I don't care about you, but she was pretending like, we'll feel better and your health is really important and whatever, and I will do anything we can, but I could tell that it was fake. But it wasn't like blatantly like passive aggressive the first time. After that, every time I talked to her, when she talked to me, if it was a phone call, she would get an attitude, straight up attitude. This woman is like way my senior and is getting an attitude with me for a disability that her workplace caused. She was being passive aggressive as shit. She kept trying to make me work this schedule, which I believe to be unlawful. The whole situation, I thought my mental health was bad before. Oh my God, I couldn't even do anything to distract myself. I couldn't edit videos, I couldn't write, I couldn't text people really. Anyway, so they kept trying to make me work the schedule. They would have me work for 30 minutes straight and then go off the phones, like clock out as if I were taking a 30-minute lunch and just sit at the office and do nothing for 30 minutes and then clock back in for 30 minutes and take calls and then clock back out until I had done 30, wait, how does time work? Enough 30-minute increments to have worked for 4 hours, but been there for 8. I feel like that's time theft. And after I started bringing that up, they were like, oh, you're supposed to file a disability claim, which I did not know. I actually, their like insurance agent was the one who told me, yeah, you have to file a disability claim. I had no idea. So, okay, fine. I filed a disability claim and I waited for ages for that thing to be approved. And every time I would tell them, like, you can't steal my time like this. This is unlawful. This is not fair. I only did it like 2 times and it was not fair and awful in general. And I felt like it was unlawful because you were stealing my time. And I sent her snippets over. I even took screenshots that I never sent her, but like I was doing my own research and it was saying like, no, if they cannot give you a job that meets your requirements with your regular pay or like pay that was going to be supplemented with the workers' compensation pay, then they can't make you work. So I told her this time and time again, and time again she'd be like, okay, yeah, you're right. And then a few days later she'd be like, hey, we're going to discuss your revised schedule, and it would be the same thing over and over and over again. And she was not hearing me out. And I did consult with a lawyer and they were like, well, we're not really sure. We'd have to take a closer look at the case. They didn't give me a solid answer, but I still was able to tell her that I consulted with a lawyer just because I wanted her to leave me alone. Honestly, like I was literally offering up something. I offered up different. I was like, listen, what if I do 15 minutes on the phone and then I take a 15-minute break and then 15 minutes on the phone and then 15 minutes I can clean the bathroom or take out the trash, which was something, by the way, I'd already been doing when I was working there. Like, if we were on the phones, but like the trash needed to be taken out and I was able to do that, I would be like, hey, can I take out the trash? Because like somebody would have to do it. We didn't have like a janitor or anything like that. So it was always done by someone on the floor. Nobody really liked doing it except for me and this other girl there. So I was already taking out the trash and cleaning the kitchen and making coffee for everybody, things like that when I was there. It just wasn't like technically part of my job. So I made this, if I still have it, I'll try and put it up on the screen unless I can't find it, I don't know. But I literally made this schedule and was like, look, what if I did this? I gave her things I could do. I was like, just anything. Like, I can't do that. And she kept being like, did you even read the blah, blah, blah? Yes, I did. I read the entire terms, like front to back. That's why I knew that she couldn't do this. And then she tried pulling the same thing on me. Well, we consulted with our lawyers and we're allowed to do this. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was technically lawful because there was a loophole or something, but it was not right. I don't want to slander them and claim it was on purpose. I felt as if it was on purpose. The way that Holly was talking to me was so unprofessional and like being passive aggressive and getting an attitude with me and all of this other stuff. And I felt, and I told her, I felt as though it was on purpose. And when I said things like that, she just wouldn't respond. Like, she just would not respond to my emails until all of a sudden she had talked to corporate and they wanted to offer me the same revised schedules before. I don't want to be too worked up. I don't want to just yell at you guys for however long this video is going to be, an hour or 2 hours. I don't know. I'm sorry, and I know my voice sounds annoying because, but it was distressing is just the best word for me to come up with it. My mental health was already bad before this and I was trying to turn it around, and then this happened and it was like everything came crumbling down. The few things that I thought I still had came crumbling down, and I was doing my best to see this as a blessing. And there are things in my life that couldn't have happened without this happening. So sure, some good came out of it, I guess, but I don't know how to be thankful for it. I already felt like traumatized in a sense from the Starbucks situation because that was awful, and she was manipulative and just shouldn't have been running a store at all. But in comparison to that, this, if it weren't still physically affecting me, I still would have been traumatized by the situation. But the fact that after everything, and it was like she was blaming me for having the injury in the first place and acting as though I was lying about it, which was an insult and just so painful. And I had the doctor visits to prove it. Like, I don't know what more proof you need that I'm not like faking this or doing it for attention or whatever they were trying to claim. I don't know. They sent me a letter after everything, and this went on for months. I believe in March, saying that my claim had been denied. And not only that, but I also had not been given any disability pay. I had applied for it. I had to wait a very long time for it to even come through, even though I wasn't working at all. My bills were piling up. I couldn't even like try and do a little bit of Postmates because I couldn't drive a little bit to my job. Like, I was barely driving to the grocery store, you know, when I needed it, and barely lifting the groceries out of my car. I was barely washing dishes without crying. I was barely using my phone, or I'm sorry, my battery died again. I need to wrap this up. So not only was I not working at all and could not use my wrists, I mean anything. When I tell you I couldn't do anything, I couldn't do anything. You don't realize like how many things you use your hands for. And I know that sounds stupid because you use your hands for everything, right? But like, none of the things I love to do, I couldn't be on my phone. I couldn't read because you have to hold the book up and you have to turn the pages, and my wrists would get so tired, and I couldn't play video games. I couldn't type and like write because that's always been a constant in my life, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't edit my videos, the other constant in my life. Like, I just had to lay on my side and watch shows and videos of people doing things that I couldn't do and pretend like everything was fine when it wasn't. And not only was that emotional distress happening, and not only was I not working at my job because of it, and so I wasn't making money, I wasn't being able to pay bills, so on top of all of that, I was extra stressed about money. I also wasn't getting anything from disability because apparently by the time they finally came to a decision and I was able to figure out why, they sent me a letter in the mail saying that I didn't work enough in the previous year. I didn't like make enough money from the job I was like telling them about to like qualify for disability benefits. So even the bullshit schedule they were trying to make me work and supplement like the hours that I was going to be sitting there like going crazy and not getting paid for, that they were basically stealing from me because I didn't have the ability to do anything else with that time, that I wasn't even going to get paid for, even if I had been going through the distress of working those shifts, which again might sound dramatic, but I did it twice. And I couldn't. And even now that I'm finally not as injured as I was, and my mental health I've been working on it, and it's been much better. I was mostly able to function until quarantine happened, and now it really depends on the day. I felt like for a minute there, oh yeah, sometimes I still have wrist issues, but I'm mostly healed again. I just can't be on my phone for too long. I can't play Stardew Valley for too long. I can't edit videos for too long. I have to take breaks, but that's okay because I can use my wrists again. Now I'm finally getting back to writing, which is my passion and has been since I was a kid, that I went to college for, almost got my degree in. I can't even do that for 3 hours a day without being in pain and having to wear these fucking braces and feeling like I still can't do anything because I have to pick one thing. Am I gonna edit a video today? Because if I do, cooking is going to be really hard, or driving is going to be really hard. So yeah, that's been my life. I keep feeling like I want to end this video with some kind of like message or something positive, but I'm getting better, or whatever it might be, because I don't like making videos that are just negative or me crying. I don't make crying videos. This isn't a thing. And I don't even want to be like, so this is why I haven't been making videos, because it's not even just this. Like, my mental health has just been not great, so filming has been hard. I made a desk recently, which was awesome and a huge feat, but I also couldn't do anything in between, and after I made the desk I couldn't do anything for like days, so that's just where I'm at. That's also why I haven't been doing tarot live streams as much anymore lately, because it's like it's flaring up all over again. Even the tarot live streams were like a little bit difficult sometimes, but it wasn't like crazy hard. But now it's getting to the point again where I'm getting creative and excited about things again, and I start doing them, and then I go to pull out my tarot cards to do something because I love reading tarot, and holding them sometimes even hurts, and I'm trying not to let it interfere with my life too much, but it's hard not to let it interfere with my life too much when I can't do anything that I love because of it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop crying in front of a camera and try and distract myself with a Netflix show that I've been binging and crying to instead. So I'm gonna go. Thank you for making it to the end if you have. I don't know how you managed to stand this because I don't like this and it makes me uncomfy. So if there's any moral to the story, just don't work for a call center, I guess. If I could negatively recommend that call center, I would. Yeah. I guess that's it. Subscribe. Okay, I love you guys, and I'll see you the next time I'm able to edit a full video for you.
Why are you such a copycat?
I also turned my fan off for this, and I've been getting worked up, and so now my butt is very sweaty. No, I'm not gonna say that. I wanted to add something at the end, and that was the only thing I could think of. Cheers. I'm practicing my lines. Hi, how are you? Would you want to be mine? But that's too cheesy. Maybe I should wait for you to reach out your hand for me. But I know that I'm hard to read, and you might not be listening. Baby, are you into me?